Okay. So we have only a couple board members with us right now because of the snowstorm. So welcome everyone. It is February 3rd. And the only reason why I remember that is because of a wonderful, lovely story I just heard about somebody wearing red every day until Valentine's Day. So I remember what day it was. But thank you so much for joining us tonight on this really snowy night. Welcome. We have a really packed schedule. So we're just going to wait a couple more minutes and then we're going to go ahead and get started. Marina, I have two people in the wrong room.
Oh, okay. Let me guide them into the right one. Two people in the wrong room. Who are they?
It's Matthew and Arlene.
Matthew and Arlene. They will want to use the link that is in their calendars, but I will resend it to them real quick.
Yeah, there was two different links.
Oh my gosh. So
There was.
sorry.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
There was one from before and then the newest one.
Yeah, the newest one is the one we need here.
No worries. Let's just get
Honestly,
that sent out
folks,
to everybody.
As soon as we get 5, we're going to get quorum and get started.
Of course.
So we've got a lot to do today, so I want to go ahead and do that. I'm glad whoever's home right now, I'm really glad your people are there.
I resent that to everyone. Does that send you another like notice, Shani?
I received another email. That's it though.
Perfect. Okay. There is Reverend Nikolov. Hello, Reverend. Sorry for the confusion.
Board Member Brown should be with us momentarily.
Okay, folks. So just as I said, it's 6:37 and it's really snowy outside. As soon as Board Member Brown gets here, we're going to have quorum and we're going to go ahead and get started. So we do have a packed schedule, and I want to go ahead and get started. Okay.
Hi, everyone else. Dr. Bob, good to see you.
Thank you, Matt. That's good seeing
Doing
you.
better. I'm guessing you're pretty hard to take out.
Well, it's pretty easy to go from one room to the next in your house and go to Zoom.
True.
I assume Arlene's boss will be outfitting caskets with Zoom screens pretty soon.
God. Oh my God. What do they call that? Gallows humor? Is that what they call that? All the history nerds started laughing. Got it. Sorry, we're live. I'll behave. Can somebody see where board member Brown is, please?
I'm calling them right now. I can't get an answer.
She and I were in the other room, and I let her know. Oh, there she is. Yeah, I let her know that there's an email being sent.
There we
So
go.
we're chilling. We're having a good time.
All right, everyone. Great. Hi. Hi, board member Brown. How are you?
And glorious, can you hear me?
I can. We can.
Oh, super. All right.
Thank you so much, everyone. So we're going to go ahead and get started because we do have a quorum and we do have a lot to cover. I'm going to ask that unless, since I'm going to put this in the chat as well, but unless, please keep your screens on yourselves. Everybody wants to see your lovely faces. And unless you have to go to the bathroom or if you have to take a call, but please come back immediately. Okay, thank you. Marina, can you please go ahead and put up the agenda, please, for the night?
Absolutely. Oops, let me get my screen.
Ah, okay. All righty. Okay, so here's the agenda, folks. We are gonna go ahead and take a look at the minutes right now. We've already welcomed the public and we have thanked them for coming. And so we're gonna go ahead and do that. So please go ahead and approve the minutes, or please bring up the minutes rather.
Okay. These are minutes from 1:20.
Did everybody get a chance to read them
No, I don't.
prior to now?
I believe so. Marina?
I sent them out yesterday around 5. So
The reason, yeah, the reason why I ask is because if they did and if there's no need for any corrections, I would like to move the motion to approve the minutes as they are.
Second.
Okay. All right.
I think that was a second by Bob.
That was
Okay.
Dr. Harrison. So I'm going to go ahead and ask, so all in favor of approving the minutes for, I think it's January 20th, 2022.
Mhm.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, I've got Matt, Celia, Arlene, Bob. It looks like Ida, yes, you made the motion. Okay, and Shani, motion carries.
Okay. So gentle reminder about making sure that we're referring to people by their board names. Okay. Okay, that's all right. All right, so we're going to go ahead and move through the agenda. Next item, please.
Okay.
I believe that's the staff report.
That's the staff report. Yep.
Good evening, members of the board. There's a few things I want to go through. The most notable event of the last few weeks was our meeting with Mayor Evans and Council President Melendez. I'm going to let Chair Wilson discuss that as that's a high level item. I'm going to talk a little bit about what has been going on with board staff. Board staff have been focused heavily on hiring. And so we are set to have by next week 16 full-time hires, and by the end of the month, somewhere between 30 and 35 staff at PAB. PAB's plan is to hopefully have a new office space in line by the beginning of March for move-in. The city's law department is currently hopefully negotiating a lease right now. And we should have details there soon on that. And when the ink is to the paper, we will be able to announce that. And that's very important to make sure that all of our new hires have space. In terms of the timeline for PAB, we've kind of firmed up where we're going in terms of training, onboarding, et cetera. The idea is to have PAB's training academy launch in May. That's a 160-hour academy for anyone who does investigations, case management at PAB to learn the ins and outs of the law, how to do that work. That academy will be followed up by 3 to 4 weeks of what we call wraparound training on everything from classism, racism, communities of Rochester, the history of PAB, history of policing, et cetera. And so that will be another 3 to 4 week program, followed by in-service training that will happen on a weekly or bi-weekly basis. These training programs are being put together by our staff, our consultants at SMK, our consultants at CCSI. We've had a number of background and operational meetings. There's an important training meeting next week. We're going to make sure that the board's training committee is there and has the materials for that. We are at the stage where we are trying to lock down speakers and curriculums, et cetera. And so having the training committee again come together on that will be very important. Next week, we are having our first meeting of the budget cycle with City Council. Council President Melendez has asked us to sit down with the staff there to talk about process to make sure that everything goes smoothly this time around. I'm very much looking forward to that meeting, and we've encouraged, I know that Chair Wilson and I will both be in attendance, and we want to make sure that all budget committee members are able to go. I know that that meeting got rescheduled, so budget committee members, please check your emails to see if we can have at least 1 or 2 of you as representatives there. So that's training committee, that's budget committee. For jobs committee, folks should plan on meeting next Tuesday to discuss some updates on the hiring process. That is because PAB is meeting with the Human Resources Department tomorrow. HR is committed to meeting with PAB once every 2 weeks to discuss our hiring process and make sure that everything's moving smoothly. So tomorrow's meeting will be very important. We have a lot of hiring that we have to do in the next month, and making sure that it can get done smoothly and appropriately is very, very important, particularly when it comes to making sure that we have salaries for the people who we are making offers to that are good living wages and that make sense in terms of pay equity. So that will be a very important meeting there. And so hiring committee should plan on getting an update about that soon. This will come up in Chair Wilson's report, but I do want to note that we will tonight briefly discuss the search for the new police chief and PAB's role in that. Outside of that, PAB is going to be posting some new jobs. We have new positions available online. Our Deputy Chief of Community Engagement. If you're into community engagement work, we have 3 open positions there. We also have a Director of Information Services that's going to be leading PAB's IT work. If those things interest you, please go on PAB's website as well as the city's website to learn more details there. And lastly, Chair Wilson and I have had a number of meetings with liaison to PAB council member Kim Smith that have gone very, very well. Building that relationship is going to be very important. That relationship will be the key link between us and City Council in the long term. Though in the short term, Council President Melendez and Vice President Lupian have asked to be working very closely with us to make sure that policies and procedures are set up appropriately. We've already seen some of those procedures changing, and even in the last 24 hours. So I will make sure that board members are posted. So to put a bow on it, PAB is right now theoretically on track to opening our doors for investigations and accepting complaints in this spring, around April or May. We're still on track, though a number of things need to happen, including us getting office space, including a number of our jobs being finalized, the Civil Service Commission approving some tweaks to our job posts. So, and of course, and this is something I didn't mention, the City of Rochester's Law Department is currently sitting down with our rules and procedures for investigations. Those are a 40-page exceptionally detailed document that was circulated to the board a few weeks ago. We have to meet with the city as soon as possible on that. The city's law department is very busy, but we've pressed them to try and meet with us this week, next week maybe, to sit down and talk about, hammer out some details on this. Some details of that are in board members' emails. But all of these things have to come together fairly quickly and appropriately for us to maintain that deadline. And for more about that, I will pass it to Chair Wilson to discuss the chair's report in the meeting with Mayor Evans.
So I see that Reverend Nikolov has a question. Go ahead, please.
Thanks. First off, Connor and Shani and staff and everyone, wow, thank you so much for all this amazing work you're doing. It's awesome. And I'm really excited about it. I was wondering, some of us have flexibility depending on the day and the week. Is the 160-hour training, the wraparound training, is that going to be open for board members to participate as we're able to or wanting to?
Yes, the training will be open to board members, but we also know that board members have different schedules. That's why what we're focused on is making sure that there is a parallel program just for board members that we can do at night, on evenings that can fit into your schedules. The training that we're going to be providing is specifically for staff. That being said, we would love to have board members come. Our hope is to have board members actually attend sessions as panelists so that we can learn about you. So having lunch events where you can come talk, we are going to be putting you into that, which is why it's so important for the training committee to really start digging in on this stuff so we can make sure that the board is being properly supported and addressed throughout this.
Thank you. Sounds great.
And I just will say to let people know, the board's training will involve simulations of the work that you will be doing, reviewing reports, receiving presentations about cases, so that before you start, you will have done it.
I also think it's really cool to possibly think about having working groups going through that, or, like we have like M&M cases, maybe just have a group getting together to work through the case that we're working on and just talk it out, since you will be doing that anyway when you are discussing a case. Okay. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and move on. So we're going to go ahead and talk about the meeting with the mayor. And we do just have a little blurb here. So in attendance was President Melendez, Corporation Counsel Linda Kingsley, a few of the mayor's aides, the executive director, myself, and Thomas Kim. The meeting was fairly brief. Mayor Evans stated his desire to get the PAB doors open for investigations as quickly as possible. To that end, he asked that myself or the executive director personally call him if we run into any barriers in his administration so that we can quickly resolve them. He suggested that the PAB should have no problem getting access to the information and RPD training sessions that we need to do our jobs, which was very refreshing to hear. He directed his staff to move quickly to try to negotiate a lease at the DNC building. And he stated that he had no plans to propose cuts to the PAB's budget in the upcoming budget cycle. He asked that the PAB to serve as a focus group for the administration regarding hiring of the new chief. And finally, he directed the Corporation Counsel Linda Kingsley, which Connor mentioned, to review our rules for investigations as quickly as possible so we could get to work. Council President Melendez urged those in the room to move quickly to provide PAB with the support that we need to do our jobs and also hear cases. It was a very good meeting. And like I said, we are excited about the energy that we're receiving from the administration, the new administration. And, we will be working with Corporation Counsel and working with some of the logistics and rules when it comes to PAB investigations. And we won't get into details here, but as I hope that we will resolve any concerns that Corporation Counsel has through thorough information and conferencing together. And so we do have some challenges on the way, but it seems like we do have a clear path going forward, which I know to all of you is really, really reassuring. That's it for that. Great.
Chair Wilson, can I just bring up one point? Mayor Evans outlined the idea of PAB participating directly in the search for a new chief. One idea that got brought up was having the board serve as a focus group to elicit what the board wants out of the process. And so I think that it probably is incumbent on the board to maybe provide an idea of what you all would like to do in terms of that chief search, and send that along to the mayor. It sounds like they're very open to how we would participate. We've been promoting the mayor's town halls, the city's town halls that they've been doing to make sure that people engage and participate. So it's a collaborative effort on that. And Chief Smith has reached out to us about having quarterly meetings around the body-worn camera policies and procedures. in the city, because they've been doing that for a while, and Mayor Evans wants PAB to be a part of that. And so we're going to have to coordinate and figure out a way to, have, maybe we have a committee or a board representative to serve in that capacity. So that's something that the board will need to figure out, probably over email in the days to come.
Board Member Brown. You're on mute.
All right. It sounds as though the friendly winds are blowing in our direction now, which is a good thing. The struggles that we had before were great for our learning and for the process. I'd like to know directly from Connor, are we having less of an issue with the hiring process? Are they now opening up the doors? What's happening in that area? Is it going a little more smoothly?
We're having a meeting with Human Resources tomorrow where we're going to be laying out PAB's needs and our hopes for smooth sailing in the future. Just to speak frankly, I think that, PAB has to have clear policies and procedures around how quickly we can hire staff. I know in the past, we have, let's be open about it. We've had to wait, weeks or months to get resumes after people have applied, and we can't continue to have, that happen. And that's, I don't think that that's, anything at all. It's a matter of how do we work together to make sure that there's clear processes, procedures on this. And so my hope is that with this, regular set of meetings with HR and hopefully Council Member Smith will be involved in that, we can address these problems from the get-go. And so, again, hiring is just so important for us. And, there are candidates who really have been we've been fighting for them, and they've been fighting to work for us, and they need resolution quickly. And so my hope is that by, going director to director on this can resolve some of these issues. So that's what I'll say about that, Board Member Brown.
Okay, because you also had mentioned previously that candidates had put their applications in. You were specifically waiting to see certain applications and they never came through HR. Where are those specific applications now? Are you still waiting to see them?
So the application deadline closed for our latest batch of positions on December 27th. We received those applications last Friday. So that is December 28th. We had 100 people apply for those positions. Half of them met the minimum qualifications. And so the staff has done an amazing job. The amazing Rena Pacheco, I don't know how she does it. She scheduled, I think, 40 interviews this week and last week between all these positions. And, we only have 2 or 3 weeks to hire the people because we gotta get them trained in March. So, I think the staff have done a great job adjusting, but that's how thin the margin of error is now on this stuff. We can't have these delays moving forward.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. So I think are we gonna go through Oh, I apologize. Rabbi, go ahead, please. Go ahead.
So I just have some specific requests before we just move on to the next part of the meeting. If you can send us the details of the training, what the sessions are, who's leading them, things like that, I would appreciate that. Also, can we get a list of all those staff and their positions who've now been hired, please? I think that's really important, and I would really like that to be an ongoing process. As people have hired, please send us all an announcement and their contact information within the organization.
Yes.
Thanks. And yeah, those are just the two.
Okay, that's awesome. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and move on. Training updates, that was already folded into our conversation, correct?
That's correct.
Okay, so next part of the meeting is going to really be my chair's report and attendance. Isn't really a report, but we'll talk about it anyway. So I sent the board an email about attendance and about some of the things that I had been thinking of. And now that we are going to be hearing cases very soon, now we have projected date, which is the spring, which is really exciting. Really would just like to revisit this to make sure that we're all on the same page. I know that we're going to be dealing with this when we are working with our folks that have been working with us offline. And I sent this on, I sent this yesterday. Didn't really receive much of a response, but I still wanted to just talk about one thing that is really concerning me as we go forward, which is making sure that we are on time for appointments. Sorry, I'm still in clinician mode. Making sure that we're still on time for meetings, but understanding and knowing that there's a snowstorm, there's things happening, people are getting out of work. You know, this is not to be hard on anybody, but there still has to be continuity in how we're doing things. So I also wanted to talk about another thing, which is, you know, you all have jobs that are extremely, can be extremely stressful. They can be, there's things that you're doing that sometimes you really need a mental health day or mental health evening. And I think that that's warranted to talk about. I did propose in the actual meeting itself that we actually discuss having a mental health day. For some reason, you all disappeared. Oh, and what happened here? Can you all see me? No?
Yeah, we see you.
Yes.
Okay,
If you
great.
can't see us, I guess we should unmute. Yes.
Great. All right. Hi. So I don't know where you went, but I'll be back. So either way, I already know what I was going to say though. Mental health days, I was going to propose a couple every 3 months, but I wanted to see how you all felt about that because, you know, COVID is here. You know, you all have jobs that are public facing or patient facing or people facing. You know, some of you are teachers. So I wanted to do something that was reasonable for you all. And I didn't really hear much back. And I just want to make sure that if people are needing a mental health day or needing some time off, that they relay that to us so that we can make sure that we're planning. Because if we don't have quorum, we can't meet. And if we do have quorum, then we can, or we can specifically tailor and gear our meetings towards making sure that people are accommodated. We just need to know. And also too, I'm also thinking about when we're hearing cases too. So I just wanted to hear people's thoughts about that specifically, and if there's any other concerns that we have that we can address tonight. I don't know where I went.
Dr. Harvey, go ahead.
So, Shawnee, are you saying, yeah, we also need the mental health break, so to speak. Are you saying another conference, another seminar? What do you mean when what are you saying specifically? Another meeting? You know, what are you saying? It's
Well,
just for us as a team?
Yeah,
A
so
board?
I think what I'm asking for is that if you're going to miss a meeting because you've got too much going on, or you're exhausted from the day, or you're exhausted from your week, that there be just ahead of time discussion, or not discussion, but just let us know. Because if something happens, and for instance, you know, the snowstorm is today, some of you were late because you either were stuck in traffic, or we had, you know, people are teaching and there's still students in their classrooms, right? That was something that was told to me before this meeting, that we just need to know about it, because if something happens and there's no quorum, then we can't meet. And I also want to say too, that I understand that when we had been discussing attendance in the past, that things were not tight at all. And so this is the time and opportunity while we are coming up with our rules with each other to do so. And so that means that, right, you know, some folks were not coming to meetings on time, some folks were not coming at all. And now that we are heading towards a place where we're going to need to be in a place where we can meet and rely on each other, I think this is a really good opportunity to discuss that. Does that help or answer your question? Mish? Yeah? I mean, do you
Yeah.
have another one? You sure?
Yeah.
You do have another question.
No, it's other hands up.
Okay, Dr. McIntosh.
So I did review your email and there were a couple questions that I had for clarification. And now I hear you say something about continuity. So I guess my one question would be or one observation or suggestion was that if we are expected to start on time, I guess I would have the same expectation in terms of ending on time if the meeting is scheduled for 8. If it's scheduled over that, that's a different story. But if it's scheduled till 8 p.m., then my expectation is that we're going to leave at 8 o'clock. So oftentimes I'm booking things after, which is not really the board's business, but if I've put this in my books for 6:30 to 8, and that's the time we have scheduled, and the expectation is for us to start on time, the expectation for me is for the group to end on time. That's one. Number two, I'm wondering about when you talk about these days, these said days that people are missing. Are you also talking about dates that like people are sick with whatever illness or COVID or whatever? How are you blanketing these dates together? Because there's going to be sometimes when people can't, they suddenly get sick, someone goes into shortness of breath or whatever, they can't necessarily account for that prior to the meeting. So, so that's one of the issues. So those are two of my concerns. And I think there were a few other things in your email that I'm going to choose not to respond to right this second until I've thought it out. But those are my top things.
Okay, thank you. So those are great points. For the starting on time and leaving on time, I think that, people arguably, I'll say, that we've really tried to make sure that we have a tighter schedule so that we're not running over. And there'll be times where we are running over. We try to keep that, and we've said that continuously now for a couple months, that we are trying our best to make sure that we are not going over 8 p.m. If there is something that you have to do, there's something you have to do. But I think that there's just going to be times that you're going to end up like maybe instead of doing that, maybe we can say, maybe if it's been a little while and we're still running over, maybe we can call it and just say we're done for the night. But I feel like we're doing that already. So I'm just looking for other suggestions on how to make that process better, since we really are trying our best to make sure that that can be as tight as possible. That's my first response.
Shawnee, can I add in something right there before you go to the second response? So
Sure.
Yes, I definitely understand the point of like starting on time as well as ending on time. And I do know, and I think we all kind of know, like within the last few meetings or so, there has been some times where we've went over, and I completely get it. If it's 8 o'clock end time and you book something afterwards, even if you didn't book anything afterwards, who cares? And you just want to go, that's fine. I just think like if we're in a meeting and you do have to go, let's just all give like a formal like, hey guys, it's 8 o'clock, I got to get going. And we'll completely understand that because it was booked to 8, you know what I mean? And then some of us that could stay, we can stay. For those that can't stay, you're not obligated to stay. The meeting only went to 8. And to be quite honest, we don't hold that against you. Like that's not something we hold against you. The meeting was till 8. You stayed until 8, and that's completely fine. It's just when 8 o'clock hit, we could do a better job with just saying like, hey guys, it's 8. If you have to go, by all means, go ahead and you can exit out. I'll try and Dr. McIntosh, I'll try and make that like, that announcement at 8. But if we don't make that announcement and you see that it's 8 o'clock, just kind of be like, hey guys, it's 8. I got to get going. See you guys next week. And we'll completely understand. We just don't want people to like leave the meeting without without having a formal exit, because overall it kind of doesn't look good as a unit, as the board, if someone just ups and leaves when without just saying a formal goodbye or a formal see you guys next week. But that was just it. But if you got to go, like, that's totally understand. Even if you don't have a meeting after, definitely get going.
So I have to respond to that if you don't mind. So normally if I'm leaving, I'm putting the message in the chat so I'm not disrupting the conversation that's going on. So if I'm not saying that verbally, it's because I'm putting it in the chat.
Oh, okay, perfect. Yeah, thank you. I didn't know. I was just saying, just like if anybody, have to leave, sometimes just say it. But yeah, if you put it in the chat, that's, that's fine as well. We can see it and everybody can see it in the chat. So yeah, thank you for that. Go ahead, Shawnee. I think the second question, I forgot it, but hopefully you did it.
About being sick. And, with COVID being the way that it is and everything happening, you're right. That's why, talking about people being short of breath and people having issues, that's absolutely right. That's why I'm asking you all what we should do, because, other boards have an alternate. We don't have an alternate. So I'm thinking about when we're hearing cases and we are in the middle of processing a case and we have to have somebody sit in for somebody else, or what should we do to make sure that there's still a flow of communication and, just like we were just discussing, consistency? So I don't really have another answer for that. I'm just putting it out there, but I'm glad that you mentioned about being ill.
Yeah.
Can I, actually, I can't answer that. I need to go by the people that raise their hands. I'm sorry, y'all. I apologize. Dr. McIntosh, was your hand still raised, or was it Reverend Nicola?
Yeah, I just, this part two of that question in terms of the mental, about being ill or the mental health. I
Yeah.
mean, me personally, I don't necessarily think it's anyone's business about someone needing to state that they have a mental health issue that, you know, so like what criteria will they have to set or say to get that day off? Do they have to say, oh, do they have to give you a dissertation on their medical problem, what the issue is? So that's what I want to clarify, because it's not necessarily anyone's business about their mental health issue if they don't want to share. Like I've noticed people say, well, what's going on? And if they have not given up that information, then that shouldn't be relayed. So in terms of respecting people's boundaries, I don't think that necessarily something that they need to know explicitly. So I'm just wondering if that's going to be, you know, specific criteria set.
So great point about not looking for dissertation on people's mental health issues and illnesses or medical conditions. And maybe a way to discuss that further will just be that we need to have a blanket amount of times that we are present in meetings. And if there's something else that happens and people are missing excessive meetings, then that is something that'll have to be discussed. There are other people that are, well, not unfortunately, but other people that have their hands up. So I want to make sure that I get to those folks. Reverend Nicola. No?
Thanks. I wanted to really affirm that making expectations public, not just for the sake of accountability within the board, because I think the public expects accountability from us too. And I don't think there's any reason not to be transparent about what's going on, especially if there's a consistent issue. So I think no one's asking for dissertations. I don't think that was implied. And I think it's an unnecessary way to phrase the question, to be honest. We're talking about simple things. Like, it's like I remember hearing a definition about pornography. Like, you can't define it, but you know it when you see it. Like, if you're having a sick day or something's up, just say, I can't make it today. And if it's done respectfully, if it's ahead of time, just say, I'm not going to be there. We're looking for basic decency and respect here, not for like a dissertation. I think we all get it. I don't know if we have to belabor this further than saying, like, I think Dr. McIntosh is right. We said 8 o'clock, we're going to do our best to end there unless it's a super important issue. We all know that. Like, we all know when it's an important issue. And if we're just spinning our wheels, that's the job of the chair and of the vice chair to call that and to make sure that they don't allow that kind of stuff to happen. So we got to let the gears happen. But I do think making these expectations public is very important. If this is going to be an accountability board, then we also do have to be accountable to our practice.
Thank you, Reverend Nicola. Let's go with Rabbi and then Dr. Harvey.
Okay. I think Dr. Harvey was first, actually.
No, you
but-
were.
Oh,
No,
okay.
yeah,
All
you
right.
were.
Yeah, all right, I'll trust you. Sorry. Okay, 2 things. So I think there's a difference between our general board meetings and when we're on panels. I would like to suggest that when we're on panels, if for some reason we can't get there, I mean, maybe, we have to talk about that in terms of if we're going to have ongoing cases or something in continuity, but I think that maybe we should just be responsible for finding a substitute, that we can try to work that out somehow. Other boards I've been on, basically, usually there's been a standard of 3, if you will, sort of unexcused absences. In other words, absences that don't, that have to do with things other than being sick or a family emergency or sort of something like that. And so just as sort of a thought or a standard about how to think about, how many, and again, without, details or whatever, but just sort of to have a sense of what folks are doing. Yeah.
Thank you, Rabbi. Dr. Harvey?
So it is the accountability board, and I think that we should be accountable to each other. And I think we also have to keep in mind that we all committed to serving a board. None of us really knew what would be required of us. But as it turns out, we have committee meetings, we have board meetings, and then we have our special training. We have a lot going on. We have a lot going on. We have a lot that's required of us. That affects us mentally too, because there's so much that's required. I'd like for us to get to a point that we are not disciplining, for lack of better words, or, that we understand our commitment, what's our quorum, what's needed. And for me, I think the board is pretty committed. I jumped on a plane, got here to Memphis, and ran here to get online as soon as I could. And I'm not speaking defensively at all. I'm just saying I just know a lot is required of us. And we're going to be doing our cases this spring. So I'm hoping that we can get to a point that we're not being mentally trained, personality trained, but we're here actually doing the work that we were selected by, however we got here to do that. Because what's kind of wearing me out is all the other stuff. Not to say that it's not important, but it does add to your schedule. So I just want to see us get to that place where nobody's pointing fingers at anybody. Nobody is coming back to defend themselves because we feel like what somebody said was a direct hit on me, but that we're actually, and I know we have to do all of this to get ready for the cases, but what are we now, a year old, year and a half, 2 years? How old is our board? Whatever our age is, I think we're getting there. It's a lot that we have to do.
I agree. Thank you. Thanks, Dr. Harvey. All right, next on the agenda is going to be committee reports, which at this point we do not have any since we haven't met. Jobs Committee was meeting every week to go over candidates, but we haven't met in a couple of weeks. We will be meeting next week to discuss a candidate, so there is no committee report for you. Training Committee is going to be has an upcoming meeting, and I believe the Finance Committee also will be scheduling an upcoming meeting. So there is no meeting minutes for you to review. All right, so that's that. And then old business, we're going to talk about a disciplinary matrix discussion. I'm going to have the executive director go ahead and head that up, please.
Boards had a number of educational sessions about this, and we'll make sure anyone that wasn't able to see that gets that information. We have now staff who can work full time on this. So our staff attorneys and policy folks have been looking at almost 50 different disciplinary matrices from across the country. They've looked at over about almost 200 different disciplinary records for Rochester Police Department officers. And they are diving into all sorts of research in the coming weeks. And the idea is that by our next board meeting, we can have that board meeting dedicated to staff presentations, have reports and memos out to people. I know that there's lots of people we need to contact and work we need to do. I know board members have asked for, getting some expertise on restorative practices. Board members have asked for some additional research on Rochester specific items. We're trying to work as quickly as possible. Obviously, a major issue is that a lot of the data that we really want, the city has and still has yet to give us. We've been asking for that for a few months. The city's response has been, well, you need to give us, rules about how you're going to, handle this information. Now they have those rules, and they're, they got to take some time with it. All that's just to say is that we have to continue moving forward regardless of what the city's doing. And so that's why, things won't be complete, things won't be there, but our public affairs staff is going to be working to make sure we have a framework come, March, so that after the board meets and has some work at mid-February and end of February, we can move into that public phase where we're getting lots of engagement and input around this, so that by the time you are all sitting down in the spring to start hearing cases, you have that document done. So, again, the next board meeting will heavily focus on this and with staff reports and discussion. And so I would urge people, if you want things looked into, et cetera, please reach out now so we can have staff assigned to get that work done.
Is there anything anybody else wants to say about the disciplinary matrix meetings that have been going on? I have a few words, but I just wanted to know other the folks that are able to attend, if they wanted to talk about their experiences in it. Okay, so it's been interesting to meet with the consultants and talking about their experiences when they are talking about hearing cases and about what a disciplinary matrix would look like. It's going to be very interesting to develop this, and I'm really proud of what we're going to do, but it's going to be quite a thing. So we really could use all input, if you have any issues that you would like to be brought up, like for instance, I asked about sexual harassment and sexual harassment clause, and not even just sexual harassment, but blue on blue or green on blue, which is like just like in the military, when you have the hierarchy and people are subject to sexual harassment or suggestive sexual behaviors towards somebody else within that time frame, just looking at that. So I'm also hoping that once we have the RPD's training, disciplinary matrix information, that will really help drive what we need to work on. But a lot of this, folks, is really just speculating. And so that's why we're really looking forward to getting this information done as soon as possible. All right. And then trying to think of any new business we had. I think the only new business I believe that we've already discussed. So I don't believe we have any. Yeah. Okay. And then, so we are going to, Rabbi Settle, go ahead.
Do we want to discuss at all ideas about how we want to be interacting with the mayor around selection of the police chief, or is that for another day?
We can discuss. Would you like to start the conversation?
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm happy if we're a focus group, but I certainly also want us to be talking to candidates.
Can you say that last sentence again? You cut out.
Oh, sorry. I said I'm happy for us to function as a focus group, but I certainly also hope we'll have a chance to be talking to candidates as well.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah.
I believe there are also other groups in the community that'll be involved in interviewing, and I'm wondering what their process will be as well. So we can ask about that too. I know that there is a group that I'm aware of, Connor, that is interviewing, I believe. I don't think it's been confirmed, it's just rumor. But I don't know if we can find out more information and just report it back to the board, so that if they have a process, then we can maybe piggyback off of that process.
In
Okay.
what capacity did Mayor Evans state he wanted us to work?
He offered the idea of, he had been thinking about having the PAB serve as a focus group, to
Okay.
learn what, you all wanted out of a chief. And we responded by saying, we're going to go back to the board and see what they think and see what they want to do.
Right. I think we should kind of, as a board, discuss if we want to serve as a focus group, or if we can serve in dual capacity, with interviewing candidates as well. But that's probably a deeper discussion and allowing us to get our thoughts and stuff together. Because I know me personally, I don't have many thoughts right now about it, because I kind of got to think it through and see what the benefits of each would be. Board Member Perez.
I'm gonna change the subject a little bit. I know you guys were talking about the focus group, and I think either one would be good. The fact that we've been invited is exciting enough. So at this point, I'll take whatever they let us get our hands on, but be glad to serve in any capacity that's necessary. But I just wanted to take a moment and just thank all of you, Connor and your staff, and Shani, for all the hard work that you guys have been doing. You know, I'm thinking 35 staff. I run a center with about 38, and so I know what that feels like. And there's some advantages to bringing everybody at one time, as well as some disadvantages, right? Because you can train everyone the same way, everybody hears the same thing, nobody has enough time to create bad habits that others can catch, and all of those good things that happen when you deal with when you're leading a group of people. But then, it's also a lot of managing and maneuvering, and it's a very monumental type of task that you guys have taken on, and to be able to do that in such a short time, it's a lot. And I just wanted to, publicly thank you for your hard work, but also to remind those of you who have been in the grind from the very beginning, like Connor and Rosabelle and a few others, to also be kind to yourself, take care of yourself, because that is a lot to take on in a very short period of time. There's a lot of moving parts, and just want to make sure that you guys, take care of yourselves as well, and take care of each other as well. Notice when people are tired or frustrated or whatever the case may be. But I also, like we tell our kids at school, kiss your brain, because you guys are doing an awesome job.
Reverend Nicola.
Yeah, just before we, on the issue of the focus group around the new police chief, I mean, 100% super excited that the mayor, the city council all are so supportive of the work, and we're working together to start hearing cases as soon as possible. I would just love to invite the mayor and anyone else involved to also consider that the PAB is more than a lot of other focus groups in terms of the way that we'll be interacting with the chief, and we'll have to have a relationship with RPD. And so I think it's great to be a focus group. We'll definitely take that. And also, I would love to see the PAB a little bit more involved, because it's going to be essentially, hopefully, a colleague, a collegial relationship, someone we're going to be working closely with, and hopefully someone we'll be able to work well with. So I think, just as we interviewed our executive director and then council got to know him as well, I think it would be great to have some sort of, similar opportunity to see how we can gel or work together, see what kind of dynamic is there. It'd be awesome. I mean, I'd love to have that be the future of both organizations, that the RPD, PAB have a great relationship, and that furthers accountability. So I think if you all talk with the mayor, are able to, or, I'm sure the mayor is going to watch or something, that I would love to see that happen as well. And I think it would only benefit everyone.
Dr. Harvey.
I agree with Reverend Nikoloff, and I wanted to comment on board member Eda's comments and say I agree and appreciate those comments too, and say to Connor and to the board members, while I know I said that we have a lot that we are doing, I want to say for me, and I think it's for all of us, I don't know of anything that you could ask us or need us to do for you as board members of the PAB and as the director of the PAB. I certainly can say there's nothing that I wouldn't do to assist you, Connor, and board members in the way that I possibly can. Even in Memphis, I'm sure something can be done on the computer. So as a leader, and I think everybody on this board serves in the capacity of leaders. So from a board full of leaders to another leader, we empathize, we sympathize, and we appreciate the work that you do. And if you need more from us, then let us know, and we'll step up for that.
Reverend Nikoloff, were you wanting to say something? Your hand's up? Okay. So folks, it is 7:27. I'm actually going to ask for a motion to adjourn the meeting. So we actually have a group of folks that would like to meet you all. And so really pretty exciting. We have some brand new people that would like to say hello and introduce themselves. And so we do not have anything else to discuss tonight. So I'm going to ask for a second and then a motion to adjourn.
So move.
All right, all in favor of adjourning the meeting? Okay, all right. Have a nice night, everyone, and we will talk to you soon. We'll see you in 2 weeks.